T.
Miss 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 T.
Can't wait for you to meet Miss T. She is the T in T.
Hello there, it's T, and you just tuned in to the Sweetteetime podcast. And I got to tell you this, I'm so happy you did, because I get excited about doing all this kind of stuff. And what makes it even more exciting for me is that people actually watch this and it really does help them. So thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to take care of this at the top of the thing. If you haven't done it already, like, subscribe, turn on the bell, and do all the stuff. Share this stuff with people that you know and love, that you feel this will help them. Now, today we're going to get into something super powerful. And it's powerful because I meet with a group of young ladies once a week, that I mentor, and I've been mentoring for quite some time. And they like to ask questions like, how do I accomplish, one is looking to purchase some commercial real estate. Another one is looking to add another business to her collection of businesses so she has another stream of revenue for an invention that she made. But one of the things that kept coming up in this particular meeting was, it wasn't necessarily the how, it was more like, I'm stuck. And so we had to get down to the bottom of why they were getting stuck as they were trying to press forward. And so I asked the question, it's a small question, but a big question to some people, especially when you're not 100% sure. I said, well, what do you want? What do you want? What's your ultimate want with this thing? And I'm getting to the power part. I know where I'm at. What do you want? And so they said, well, I want more money. And I said, okay, well, you want more money, but what do you want? Like, what's the real purpose? What's your depth of why in you adding this other thing? Because you adding this other thing, it could create a multitude of other, challenges or added responsibility in your life. So you have to be very, very clear about what you want by taking these extra steps. And so we're going back and forth with it a little bit. And then she says, well, I was talking to some friends about it and they said I shouldn't do this. This one lady in particular about adding another revenue stream. And they said I shouldn't do this because I have, small children and I'm still, doing this other thing. And I said, that's an interesting thing that paralyzes people often is sometimes you can share your dreams and goals with people, and because they can't see it or they don't understand it or because they wouldn't do it, they challenge you in a way that it removes your choice. And one of the most powerful things you have is your ability to choose. You can choose what you want. You can choose how much you work. You can choose what kind of lifestyle you have. You can even choose how high and how far you go in everything you do, relationship-wise, financially, career-wise, love-wise, adventure-wise, spiritually. You get the choice to go as high, as deep, as far, and as wide as you want. And most often people get stuck because they can't make a choice. They can't choose, okay, I want to do this or I'm doing this. And sometimes you can let those outside voices paralyze you so that you get in I call it procrastination, but sometimes it's not even, that's not even the right word for it. It's just that you could, how your computer will lock up or when it doesn't know what to do or you're giving it too many commands and it just kind of well, we as humans, I think we do the same thing. Like we get stuck in a thing because we're processing all the different things that you hear, trends that you see, what social media is saying, what the news is saying, and it stops you from making a decision. And then I'm looking at, the climate of the world right now. One of the number one things that's happening in the world is they're trying to take your choice from you. And as humans, we're created with freedom of choice. You can choose how much you want to show up in this life by way of success, by way of love, by way of, friendships and your contributions to making it better. And so a couple things I wanted to share today as I'm really exploring this. When I look at the different successes in my life, and it's not necessarily because I read a book or I took a class, or, I attended a workshop. It's because I just made a choice. I made a choice that I was going to have 3 children. So I did. I made a choice that I was going to teach dance for a living. I made a choice that I was going to start my own company. Now, I didn't know the depth of challenge and responsibility and hard work it took, but because I made the choice, it enabled me to do it, but it also enabled the right people to come along. It enabled the right resources to flow in my direction. But that's because I made a choice. Such a powerful thing. So I want to read a couple things to you, and I want to see what resonates, what you catch, because I want you to start thinking about any area of your life where you feel stuck, where you feel foggy, in your thinking, or you're seeing, or unsure, or where doubt is trying to seep in and cause you to not do some things. I want you to start to listen to these things, but start to see where you may be experiencing some of this stuff, so that you can choose what you want to do, so that you can move forward, or, cut it off, but don't go backwards. Never go backwards. But, you can choose how you want to handle those situations. So first things first, choose. That's when you select or separate. So you choose the friends you want, you select them, or the ones you don't want, you separate. You choose the kind of opportunities that you take, or the kind of opportunities you don't take. So selecting and separating, that process, you want to see, okay, when you're looking at a problem where you might be a little paused, you want to select or separate. And sometimes what I'll do is just like a post-it. If I can't, make a quality decision about whether or not to do this thing or add this thing, I'll do something like, not necessarily on paper all the time, but inside of myself, I'll put it on a post-it and I'll separate it from the things that I need to process right now. Because otherwise it congests my process for the things that I really need to be making decisions on. And that adds pressure. You know what I'm saying? It adds pressure to, your daily stuff. And you don't need more pressure unless you try and turn into a diamond. But you want to make sure your process of choice is clean and free from any mental and emotional debris. So again, select and separate. So look at situations where you feel like, okay, I got to do something about this thing, and see if you need to select it, choose it. Yes, I'm going to do it, or separate it from your process until you can revisit it in a way that you can make a choice about it. The next thing is determination of mind. Now, this is the power part of choosing. Once you determine in your mind, in your spirit, in your inner being, in your heart, that I'm going to do this thing, or I choose to do this thing, or I choose to become this thing, everything kicks in so that you can accomplish that thing. But power of choice, determination of mind, means that's yours, baby. You're going to have it. Come hell or high water, you're going to have it. So you want to make sure that as you're scanning the list of things that you have to get into some decision making about, that you have to choose what you're going to do about something, just make sure that you're allowing the power of determination of mind to be attached to whatever you choose. Now, remember, if you're choosing to do some stuff, but it's not really happening, you want to check and make sure that you really did choose to do it. Like a lot of people make those resolutions in the top of the year, I'm going to lose weight. Well, it's a nice thing to say, it's a nice thing to write down, and it's a nice thing to put on your vision board, but is there determination of mind, meaning I'm doing this thing no matter what? Those are the things that actually get done. Those are the ways that you actually build forward, build better, and build stronger. So again, when I'm saying the power of choice, one of those forces is determination of mind. I was a single mom with 3 kids. I was on welfare, going to college full time while I was building my company and going through a divorce. But I was so determined to get that degree that I not only got my degree, I graduated with honors, and I graduated ahead of time. Why? Because I was determined to do this before my oldest daughter graduated from high school, so she had an example to follow by way of higher education. I never really thought I needed a degree because I built 4 companies, before I even thought about going to college. But once I started having kids and my kids were, approaching graduation from high school age, they said, well, I'm not going to go to college. I'll just do what mom did and build a company. Well, no, that was hard. And so I wanted my kids to look at higher education differently. So I chose to go back to college, and I chose to graduate and finish the task in a way that caused them to have a higher bar, a higher standard to reach, because I didn't want to just get through it. I wanted to get through it in a way that they can pursue excellence in their higher education experience. So again, determination of mine, and my kids really inspired that. And you got things around you that's inspiring you with some of the choices you're making. You just want to make sure that the choices that you're putting that power of determination of mind behind, you want to make sure that they're good things and they're all pushing you forward, pushing you upward towards your goal. And the last thing I want to offer about that is preference. Most people are ruled by preference. And most often, it's not their own preference. It's the preference that they're being told they should have about a thing. That's one of the sticky things that, social media does when you hear things like, oh, this is trending right now, so I want to dress like this, I want to look like this. I even have, young adults that I work with that are getting surgeries at young ages so that they can look a certain way. And I think that, you want to make sure that when you're making the choice to do some of the things that you're doing in life, make sure it's your preference and not somebody else's. Because if you're making choices based on what somebody else thinks is good or right or fun for you, then it's really not your choice. It's somebody else's choice for you. And remember a statement that I made earlier in this thing is, this world right now is sucking choice out of every individual. It is really hard to find someone who holistically makes every choice about the outcomes of their life. It's rare. Most people are following somebody else's process of decision making for them. So as you're exploring this with yourself, again, you know me, I'm a big fan of writing stuff down, but start writing things down so you can ask yourself this key question. Is this my choice? Is this my preference? Or is this the global preference, so I'm leaning into it because this is where I feel the pressure. This is what I feel the pressure to do. Now, I'm not trying to tell you be a rebel or get out there and, anti everything and not do some things, because sometimes people helping you make choices by giving you information and education is a good thing. So, but what I want is for you to make sure that you're aware that that's the case, that you're not just leaning into things, you're not just choosing to do things because this is the thing to do based on what everybody else is doing or based on what somebody is pressuring you to believe, know, and understand. There's so much power in you making the choice. You can choose to listen to, whatever advice that someone is giving you, or you could choose not to. You could choose to save money. You could choose to make money. You could choose to be healthy by separating some things out of your diet or selecting some things to add to your diet. Again, there's so much power in just that one little word called choice. So today I encourage you greatly, examine your preferences, examine the motive and the influence behind some of the choices you're making, especially if you feel stuck, if you don't feel clear about your destiny and your path, especially if you don't know, what you want to do, how you want to unfold, how you want to grow in life. You want to start looking at some of the choices you're making and how they're being inspired. Now, I know, sometimes I throw these things at you guys and it's a lot. It's a lot. Sometimes I listen to these things myself. I'm like, woo, T. But I want you to always be aware of how powerful you are and how you really do hold the cards. You really are the architect of your life. You have the capacity to shape any world you want, to be a contributor in this world that you live in impactful ways, as long as you understand how powerful you are. So make sure you're taking the time to examine your choices, good, bad, and ugly, and adjusting where you need to adjust, especially if it's your goal to grow and to go and to live in the things that give you a extreme joy and the highest potential of success. Thank you for tuning in today, and make a choice to tune in next time. Thank you for visiting Sweet Tea Time, and I look forward to chatting with you again. Now, if any of this is helping you, Make sure you leave something in the comments. Let me know. I want to know. I want to celebrate with you. And again, if you haven't done so already, check out my other stuff. I put shorts and bits and bites and fun stuff, lifestyle stuff on my Instagram. That's at Sweetteetime. Also on TikTok, it's Sweetteetime. And of course on YouTube at the Sweetteetime channel. Thank you for tuning in. So grateful that we get to have these times together and make a choice to win, you winner.